We have General VP Malik, who's the former Chief of the Army Staff from the Indian Army, joining us on the broadcast. General Malik, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We saw those live visuals on our television screens today. The kind of farewell that was given to to the bravehearts, especially Colonel Manpreet Singh, in the manner in which his family, his 6-year-old son, came forward and gave a final salute. You were present during those last rites. You were there with the family. What was really like it, sir? I mean, it's difficult to describe in words, at least for me.
Good evening, Anusha. We've gone through very sad days, last 2-3 days, ever since we learned this news about the encounter in which 3 bravehearts, Manpreet, Aashish, and Deputy SP Humayun, they got killed in the action. And one more casualty has now taken place. The person who was wounded, he is also, I believe, died.
Yeah.
So they've been sad days, and Manpreet belonged to a village which is close by. So we thought it was our duty, responsibility to go there and participate in the cremation that takes place. It's always a very sad thing for us, those in the army, and particularly when we have our regimental officers being killed like this. Both Manpreet and Aashish, they belong to my regiment, the 6th Light Infantry, and to some extent I can say that yes, people like me, my juniors, have mentored them. There is a very strong bonding, although we feel sad for any soldier, but those who you have mentored yourself, you feel more close to them, and therefore the sadness. And as you mentioned, the young boy, 16, who was wearing army fatigue, having to light the fire, that brought tears to everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
And these are the very emotional thing. One feels very sad looking at the family, the young lady who has to now bring up the children, the parents who have lost their son. But then this is the duty, and this is the responsibility that everyone has. Manpreet was commanding a battalion. He was commanding officer, and both of them were very brave officers, I must say.
Yeah.
Brave, having been awarded a gallantry award. Both of them had earned Sena Medal gallantry. So to lose such bright, brave officers, you do feel sad. So it's been a sad moment for all of us.
And it's indeed a personal loss to you as you narrate how you had mentored them, and these were brave officers. Sir, we saw the family in tears, and one could only imagine what they must be going through. Though families of these bravehearts are made of sterner stuff, but it must be very difficult for the family. Could you tell us more about these officers who you had personally mentored? We know the kind of laurels they had actually achieved, the kind of medals that they had achieved because of the contribution they had made to the Indian Armed Forces. But any personal anecdote or anything personal that you remember of these officers since you had mentored them and framed them and guided them?
19 Rashtriya Rifle, they have most of the boys in that battalion. They are from my regiment, the 6th Light Infantry.
Yes.
And I feel sad. We lost one commanding officer when I was army chief at that time, or about to become army chief. That time, that incident took place in Kupwara. So while being in the army, being a senior officer, you do face these issues, these problems. You see the colleagues getting killed in these actions. But when you lose a commanding officer, a bright commanding officer, you feel worse. And that time we lost Colonel Sharawat, and today, day before yesterday, we lost Colonel Manpreet. Both very bright officers, And then you look back that how we have to look after their families. The children have to grow up. The mothers have a much greater responsibility. They have to be very strong. and I have seen many widows, having to look after them, and but I think they are able to look after themselves better, and they become stronger. So I've seen all those changes taking place when such casualties occur. And as I said, being in the army with the kind of responsibility that we have, the kind of duty that we have to carry out our actions. We have to be, we have to lead from the front, and in that process, well, we do lose our colleagues, our um, people whom you have mentored. But then, as I said, you have to carry out your responsibilities. You have to carry on um, with the work, the responsibility that have been given. Fortunately, the army does have this ethos where you carry on and you look for retribution as soon as possible. And I'm sure now 19 RR would be looking forward to that retribution
Yeah.
uh, against those people who have done it. Um, but here, I must tell you that while I keep seeing all these tactical actions for such a long time now, I have been seeing them. In fact, Pakistan has been carrying out these kind of activities for last 50 years now. Earlier in Punjab and subsequently J&K and then the whole of India, their policy hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And although we may have succeeded in reducing the number of casualties, but the fact is that their policy hasn't changed, and that is what I think we need to work on: how to make them change their policy, and that requires strategic thinking at the very senior level, at the policy making level.
So,
I hope that is being looked into.
Sir, I think you're making a point which is at the heart of these losses. I mean, once the glare is off, a lot of us will not remember in the same magnitude like the family would, the loss that has come on the family of, say, Colonel Manpreet Singh or Major Aashish. But the policy change that you're talking about, yes, the number of casualties or the kind of lives which are lost in security forces, the numbers have come down. But what kind of tactical or strategic shift in policy do we really need in your learned experience, sir?
Look, tactically, we keep on trying to improve our operational effectiveness, both in terms of experience that we gain every time we go out for these actions, also with the kind of developments that are taking place, the technology that is enabling us to carry out these operations more effectively. Things are much different today than they were in my time. And today we got drones, we got all kinds of radars, we got so technology is also enabling us to do better.
Yeah.
Uh, as far as the infiltration part is concerned, this cross-border infiltration,
Yes, sir.
that we may have checked to some extent, but we have not been able to eliminate, and I don't believe it will be possible for us to totally eliminate. What I am looking at is that all these improvements in our tactical operation, and even at the operational level, we may have been able to ensure that our casualties are reduced, and we are able to kill more and more of these people who have intruded. Their number is going up indeed, but the policy from the other side has not changed.
Exactly.
So while we are looking into these and improving our operational effectiveness within Kashmir or along the LAC, we may have even done some operations across the LAC. We have also carried out the aerial action in their territory,
Yeah.
going right up to
Yeah.
after Pulwama, but it has not enabled us to make them change their policy. I think it's time now for us to see that this thing which has been going on, how do we make them change their policy? And that is what I feel that we need to have a look into again. We should relook at it. We should study it afresh, and we should work out some strategy which makes them disrupt whatever they have been doing. That is what I was talking.
So, my last question to you, my final question to you, the kind of contribution and your stature forbids me to make you a part of any kind of petty political discourse which is happening in the country. So that's not the point that I'm going to refer to in the question that I'm about to ask you. But there have been many questions, not just recently, but I believe for decades, that can talks and terror go hand in hand? And you're talking about something similar, that when it comes to the attitude from across the border, that has not changed. India has taken a mix of both in terms of diplomatic efforts, plus ensuring that the security in the affected areas, in the geographical region of Jammu and Kashmir, and especially the affected district, is tightened. But what is that strategic change that India can make in order to eliminate it at some point in time? I'm not saying it's going to go away immediately, but is there a medium to long-term solution that we can look at?
Look, as far as the tactical operations are concerned, whatever we are doing, I think we'll carry on and we'll try and keep improving on that side. But as far as the strategic aspects are concerned, we have seen in the last 40-50 years, whichever government has come, whichever prime minister has come, the fact is that they haven't changed their policy. So to keep on questioning each other makes no sense to me at all. So why should the political parties be only pointing fingers at each other and not looking at the experience that we have acquired over the last 40-50 years? After all, we've had prime minister from different parties, we've had different governments all along. So it's high time that we saw that, look, the other side, the adversary, is just not changing its policy. So therefore, at strategic level, we have not been able to do what we wanted to do. The prime ministers have tried their peace talks. We have had all kinds of Aman ki Asha, and we've had, people are talking about cricket, banning cricket, banning cricket with Pakistan. These are not going to make them change their policy. So therefore, I think it's time that people got together and they realized that, look, instead of pointing fingers at each other, we work out on a policy at all levels. It should be an integrated policy which will involve politics, it will involve diplomacy, economy, and military, of course. And then work on that for some time and see if we can make them change their policy. So that is what I'm looking at. As far as the operational side is concerned, tactics are concerned, you be rest assured that we will continue to improve, we will continue to do that. But that may reduce your casualties. It is not going to eliminate your altogether whatever is going on in J&K.
General Malik, I think you've made a huge argument today, and I believe a very valid one, that a lot of political players in this country need to hear that this bickering is not going to help. You need to have a long-term stable policy across political lines on different fronts, whether it's diplomacy, military, economy. It cannot be just about suspending cricket between the two nations. You're only belittling a very serious issue. I really appreciate your time, General VP Malik, for joining us on the broadcast.